July 20th, 1969. Two humans step onto the surface of the moon. 500 million people watch live on TV. It's the single greatest achievement in human history. Or was it? Because for over 50 years, millions of people have believed the whole thing was faked. Filmed on a soundstage, directed by Hollywood. A giant lie to win the space race against the Soviet Union. So today we're asking the question, did the moon landing really happen? And the answer, from both sides, is way more interesting than you'd expect. Here's why so many people don't believe it. The conspiracy theory goes like this. NASA couldn't actually get to the moon in 1969. The technology wasn't there. So instead, they faked the footage, possibly with Stanley Kubrick, the director of 2001: A Space Odyssey, behind the camera. The main evidence people point to: the flag appears to wave in the footage, but there's no wind on the moon. The shadows in the photos look wrong, like they're coming from multiple light sources. The astronauts should have been killed by radiation passing through the Van Allen belts. And there are no stars visible in any of the photos. These sound convincing at first, they really do. So let's go through them one by one, because every single one has an explanation. And some of those explanations are genuinely fascinating. The waving flag. This is the big one. If there's no air on the moon, why does the flag wave? Here's the thing, it doesn't wave. What you're seeing is the flag moving because the astronauts just planted it. They twisted the pole into the lunar soil and the flag kept vibrating from that motion. With no air resistance to slow it down, it kept moving longer than it would on Earth, which actually makes it look more dramatic, not less. NASA even designed the flag with a horizontal rod along the top, specifically so it would stay extended in photos. The flag waving is actually proof of the moon's vacuum, not proof of a fake. The shadows look wrong too. Different angles, different directions. It looks like multiple studio lights. But the moon's surface isn't flat. It's covered in hills, craters, and uneven terrain. When light hits an uneven surface, shadows point in different directions, even from a single source. No studio needed, just physics. Then there's the Van Allen belts, zones of intense radiation surrounding Earth. The theory is that passing through them would have been fatal. The truth? The Apollo astronauts passed through in about 30 minutes at 25,000 miles per hour, receiving a radiation dose roughly equivalent to a chest X-ray. NASA had studied the belts for years and specifically routed the mission through the thinnest parts. And the stars? The lunar surface in daylight is extremely bright. To expose a photo of the astronauts properly, you need settings that make stars invisible, exactly like how you can't photograph stars in daytime on Earth. If NASA had faked the photos, they actually could have easily added stars. The fact that there aren't any is more consistent with real photography than a studio. But forget the debunking for a second. Let's talk about the positive evidence, because there's a lot of it. The astronauts brought back 842 pounds of moon rocks, studied by scientists in dozens of countries, including the Soviet Union, NASA's biggest rival. Every single test confirms they are genuinely from the moon. The Soviets were tracking the entire mission with their own radar. They had every reason to expose a fake, and they never did. They publicly acknowledged the landing happened. Retroreflectors, small mirrors, were placed on the lunar surface during Apollo. Scientists around the world still bounce lasers off them today to measure the exact distance to the moon. And finally, 400,000 people worked on the Apollo program. For a conspiracy this size to hold for over 50 years, every single one of them would have had to stay silent. That has never happened with any secret of that scale in history. So did the moon landing really happen? Yes. Absolutely, completely yes. Not because the government said so, because the physics checks out, the evidence is independent, the Soviet Union confirmed it, and the moon rocks are in labs around the world right now. The conspiracy theory is compelling because it asks smart questions. But every single one of those questions has a real answer. And those answers point to one thing. 12 humans walked on the moon between 1969 and 1972. And it is one of the most extraordinary things our species has ever done. Drop a comment. Do you believe it happened? And what theory should we break down next? Thanks for watching Theories Explained. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you next theory.